Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode. Sorry, I usually edit those out. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio's Movie Club. Week 2, we did it. Week 2. Care. I have cough medicine, but it'll put me out, and it's only 7 p.m., and I don't want to go to sleep this early. I have those little NyQuil pills, and dude, it'll drop me quicker than anything. Dude, this is the bomb right here. This sparkling ice. I ordered this cases of it from Amazon. It's cheap. It's delicious. No sugar. It's just fake sugar. Caffeine free. You know you're old when you're like, oh, great. This is caffeine free and delicious. It's awesome. I also got my Diet Pepsi. Choice of a new generation. You like that for a little bit of product placement? Let's go ahead here. I see we have one person in the stream. That's awesome. Let's go ahead here and get everything situated. Dear person in the stream, you have one-on-one. You have one-on-one with Dead Rabbit. That's pretty awesome. Hold on. Two people. I promise I'm not going to do that all night. Actually, you know what? What's up, Suave? Let's go ahead. So we watched 5 different movies again this week. We watched... Dang it. Here, why don't you guys, hey, Mousky. Here, hold on a second. I don't know why I'm coughing all of a sudden. I might have to let me go take some of that NyQuil. I might have to just call it an early night. Here's some hold music. There's your hold music. Okay. You know what, Suave? So, I've looked into that. Here's the thing. Thank you, Vlad. Here's the thing. So, Twitch has this thing. Thank you, Charlotte. Twitch has this thing. It's called the Watch Party. And I hate that I forgot who recommended it last time. There's a thing called Watch Party. But everyone has to have Twitch and everyone has to do Amazon Prime. And Shudder is on Amazon Prime. So there is a possibility we could work something out in the future. But right now I'm trying to, hey, who done it? Right now I'm trying to figure out a way that we can watch movies for free, that we can all watch the same movies. And Shudder is free right now if you use that promo code. We may end up trying to find movies at another source at some point, like YouTube movies that are available on YouTube. Most of the movies you can find anywhere. But short answer, Suave, I would love to do a watch party, but everyone would have to have Amazon Prime, and we'd have to everyone move over to Twitch, which it's hard to get people moving around. Thank you, Dalix. Yeah, dude, it is so beautiful outside. You can see like the sunlight streaming in. It's like 70 degrees out there. It's a little cold for me, but dude, I'm dressing like I'm outside. Like that's the thing. I'm dressing for summer. I'm checking for summer. Yeah, I have Amazon Prime too, but yeah, we'll figure something out because I'd love to watch. There's some movies that I would love to watch with you guys. There's a couple movies I'd love to watch with you guys. The thing with SciTube, because I watch stuff on there too, but because I have a podcast and I'm known, if I break copyright laws, then I'm responsible. So if I hold a watch party on SciTube, like the Dead Rabbit Radio movie, or promote it in any way on my podcast, I'm liable for copyright violation. If I was just, online being like, hey, let's all go, because I watch some cool movies over there. Hey, let's go watch some stuff over there. Then, yeah, it is kind of Vice City. You're right. For those listening to on the podcast, I'm wearing a pretty cool pink flamingo Hawaiian shirt. You got to dress for the weather you want, not the weather you have. That's an old philosophy of mine. People say dress for the job you want, not the job you have. I say you got to dress for the weather you want. Usually works. Let's go ahead here. I'm going to take this NyQuil because otherwise I'll be coughing the whole time. Thank you, Chi-Chi. Let's get started. We watched 5 movies this week. We're going to go through them one by one. You know what? So Sir Vlad said we can watch old public domain movies. On my Thanksgiving special, after the special, we watched a public domain horror movie, Frankenstein's daughter versus Jesse James's niece or something like that. They took the video down, even though it was public domain. Somebody took the video down, so it was fun watching it with you guys. I didn't stay around much longer. Now, did you? Let's start off with the movie. Let's kind of do them in. Thanks. I figured that, Seth. I figured you were just joking. Let's go ahead and take a look at the movies that we watched. Now, I like the notes for one of them. I don't think that's a total loss because I remember it pretty well. I just watched it last night. But I'm trying to figure out a good order to do these in. Let's start. You know what? Let's start off with Housewife. Because I honestly think that was the best movie we watched. Did anyone watch Housewife this week or before? Has anyone seen the horror movie Housewife? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. Housewife is absolutely... Housewife is the most interesting movie I think I've seen this week, just from a filmmaking standpoint. So let me tell you what it's about. If you want to watch it, I'll tell you when the spoilers really come. Okay, so what it is, it starts off with this young girl. She's at home, and she cut. Sorry, I can't say cut. This is live. It starts off with this young girl. She's at home. And I'll check that out, Gerald. Let me write that down. It starts off with this young girl. She's at home, and her, I don't know, teenage sister, primetime sister, not primetime. What's that word called when you're in between being a teenager and a kid? What's that word called? It's not premature. That's a baby thingy. What's the thing? Anyways, adolescent, right? That's tweens. That works too. Preteen. Anyways, this girl and her older sister, I could have just said that and saved this all a bunch of time, starts having her period. And she doesn't know what's going on. And their mom comes in and sees that she's having the period. And she's like, oh no. And she grabs the older sister and drags her out of the room. And she tells the little girl, don't leave this room no matter what. Don't leave this room no matter what. And so the little girl's like, she's told to like count to 1,000, close her eyes, and don't leave the room no matter what she hears. So she closes her eyes. And then she hears her bedroom door. And there's nothing there. There's no one in the hallway. So she starts kind of walking through the house, trying to figure out what's happening to her mom and her sister. She sees her mom drowning her sister in a toilet, killing her, drowns her to death. And the mom sees a little girl, and then they start running. This is the first 5 minutes. They start running around the house, and the mom has this knife, and she's like, I have to do it. And the girl's trying to hide, and then the mom starts beating up the girl, trying to kill her. And then the dad comes home, and the mom kills the dad. And then we flash forward maybe 20 years. We see this little girl. She's now an adult woman. She's married. She's pretty, like, she kind of has it together, even though she went through this horrible thing. But she's definitely, like, processing all of this. And she had an old friend in New York City. Her husband draws covers for horror books, right? So kind of right there, you kind of have a vibe of In the Mouth of Madness. The cover art was a big part of In the Mouth of Madness, and we'll watch that coming up. If you haven't seen it already, it's the best. But anyways, she's married to this guy, and they run into these friends, and they're like, hey, are you going to the meeting, the big cult meeting downtown on Tuesday? And they're like, what? And they're like, yeah, that big cult. You know, it's real popular. It's like this Scientology meets this other like self-help thing, Tony Robbins, massive group. We're going to go there. You should come with us. And the main star, she gets kind of nervous. And she goes, I actually lost a friend to that group back in New York. She was my best friend. And then she just joined the group. And then, like, I haven't seen her in like 3 years. I haven't heard anything from her. But they go, well, maybe she'll be there. Maybe you'll reconnect with your friend. So the main character, let's call her Molly. I don't remember. Her name was Holly, actually. Let's call her Holly. Holly or maybe Hazel, one of the two. Anyways, the point is that we'll call her Holly. She goes to this thing. She meets her friend, and her friend's like, oh my God, this cult. So they don't call it a cult, but they're like, the family's so amazing. You got to meet the prophet. He'll do all this stuff for you. And she meets the prophet, and the prophet like singles her out. It's like this. What's funny is the movie's super well made. You could tell they had some serious budget issues. Like, they could have these massive crowd scenes, but they could only afford like 20 people. The charismatic cult leader comes off like a really well played charismatic cult leader. A little bit slimy, a little bit charming. Thank you, Vertigo 22. Thank you for that. But he comes, he's a really good actor. There's a lot of good acting in this, a lot of good characterization. They meet, and he does his cult thing. He touches her on the head, and she basically remembers being in the house and seeing, like, she revisits that whole memory. So she now knows that there's something supernatural going on. She was teleported back there, but everyone knows what's not. It has a definite ending. But what happens is the character starts to go down these rabbit holes, dead end, and then we restart back at that meeting. So the movie has all of these kind of and again, if it had a bigger budget, I think they could have done more interesting stuff with these dream worlds. This is Housewife, Vertigo 22, the movie Housewife. To make a long story short, so the bulk of the movie is her trying to explore these things that's going on in her head. To make a long, there's like a threesome in it if you're into that. Well, who isn't? But I mean, like, there's some sex scenes and there's some like really just dark imagery. But that carries us around for about a half hour, and it's not boring at all. But the ending is off the rails, dude. The ending is absolutely bizarre. So what it turns out is that this woman was a prophecy. Now, they never really explain why the mom killed the sister, but I'm pretty sure is that the mom also knew what these girls were destined to be, and that's why she killed the older sister when she started her period. But that's never explained, which I like. Movies sometimes don't explain stuff, and I don't like that, and sometimes movies explain everything. I'm pretty sure that's what they were getting. The cult leader comes in and he's like, "Welcome, my children," and a bunch of like 10-year-olds walk in Jawa robes, and you're thinking, this could have been cooler, right? Like, you can tell they tried so hard to make this creepy. But all these kids are now standing around this girl, and the cult leader is like, "You are chosen. You're going to be the one who has this baby." Now, at this point, her best friend, who had previously joined the cult, gets super jealous, and she's like, "No, you can't do this." Cult leader just chops her head off. The husband starts to fight back because he's there too, and the cult leader will like stick his thumb in your mouth and then touch your head, and you go into another dimension, not physically but mentally. It just breaks your brain. So the guy's like, "Stay away from my wife," and that's all. And then he just becomes like mentally disabled and starts crawling all over the ground. And then, and the whole time, Holly's just kind of like being held down by these 10-year-olds in robes. He takes the sister is like just crawling around being all weird because she's like this evil ghost. This isn't even the weirdest part, but it's disgusting. The cult leader takes this ceremonial knife out he'd been carrying around her. And what's funny is in the movie, when it starts off, you don't know if the cult leader is a villain because he's pretty charismatic. You figure he might be trying to like rip people off money-wise, or he might be a charlatan. This dude was the real deal. He does this summoning spell. He cuts off the dead mom's face, puts it on him. So now he's walking around with Holly's mom's face. And then he puts his hand on Holly's stomach. She immediately becomes 9 months pregnant. And then she pushes out this disgusting egg sac monster thing. And she rips it out because now she's insane, basically. Like at this point, basically, this guy's wearing her dead mom's face, making her pregnant. She's totally lost it with reality. She's now cradling this baby that came out of this egg sac that didn't exist, 2 seconds ago. And then the cult leader goes, "Only flesh can comfort the child." So he goes back over to the dead mom, makes a blanket out of her skin while she's still alive. Because like he brought her back to life, cut her face off. Now he's making a blanket out of her skin. He swaddles the baby in grandma's skin. And you're like, what is going on? And then the cult leader goes, like, "You have to show the child off," or something like that. And the woman, Holly, now totally insane, walks out to her patio on her, like, overlooking her yard. And there's a bunch of little kids in Jawa costumes. Again, kind of a lame image. But she walks out onto the patio holding her baby. And then they pan up. and there is a Cthulhu-like creature bigger than the world, giant tentacles coming down, and she's just looking up and smiling as she's holding this thing's child, and the movie just ends. Which, that is a perfect ending for me, because when you're watching this movie, you can 100% go, this sounds like this could be all a dream. It could end up with her really being in a mental hospital, or in the end, she was the one drowned. Like, they could have gone in so many different ways. To have it end where it ends with the Cthulhu creature winning, with this creature that's so massive, one of its tentacles is the size of a U.S. state. That's mind-breaking. Like, that's not the devil in the corner, ha ha ha, Rosemary's Baby. And one thing I liked about this movie is, if she was pregnant at the beginning of the movie, I would have been like, oh, great, the baby's the chosen one, is some sort of evil baby. They don't really even talk about babies until that last 2 minutes, when one just appears. So I thought it was really well done. You could tell that everyone tried really hard. I guess the person who made this movie made another movie called Baskin, which sounds fascinating. He's a Turkish director. He made a movie called Baskin that I'm going to watch, but it's about cops who like kick in the door of a drug house and they fall into hell. It's like just 4 police officers doing their job. They'll go to hell. We may do that on a movie club thing. It's not on Shudder, though. Again, I'm trying to be doing Shudder because it's all fake stuff. But I really like the idea of having that like mundane life, and then you have like 10 minutes of that insanity, and then it just ends. And then it just ends. So I thought Housewife was actually the most interesting movie. It's funny because you'll see that a lot. You'll see movies that they always say the mouth is bigger than the stomach, or no, that's not it. Eyes are bigger than the stomach. Like, they had this great storyline set out, but they just didn't have the budget for it. And that's actually a perfect segue for our next movie we're going to talk about. Hey, what's up, Leo? That's actually the next one that I would have thought of, right? It was a cool ending, Jay. I really enjoyed it. Then the next movie also has the same issue, and I think it's kind of an issue with horror movies in general. So, Necrotronic. Did any of you guys watch Necrotronic either this week or before? So, Necrotronic, it's an interesting movie. I did enjoy watching it, right? But here's the thing. You have an issue like this. This movie, had it come out in 1999, would have been amazing. Had it come out in 2007, would have gathered a following. It's a really interesting movie, but it's basically a comic book film. The way I described it, actually, Ghostbusters meets The Matrix. And when you say that, it's so funny, because when you say Ghostbusters meet The Matrix, great idea. And Necrotronic actually is a great idea. That's what's so funny about it. But just bad timing. This movie had a more linear plot. It was basically all of the tropes you see in type of those movies, right? You have an issue like this. So what's going to happen is you have a guy who's basically going about his normal life, having a fun time, no big deal, right? He is going down the street with his buddy. His buddy has downloaded this Pokemon Go game. So here's the thing. What happens is he opens up into this world of intrigue, of magic. It's really, really interesting. So it is The Matrix. And really, it's funny because that's kind of Ghostbusters as well, right? You have a thing where you have 3 guys who are totally going about their normal life, and they run into the supernatural. War movies, you'll have people go in and actually try to... Action movies tend to have people seek out the action. But a lot of these paranormal movies, they're getting in. They're getting in and doing this stuff. So that's like The Matrix. And that's really where this is coming from. You have the Morpheus character. You have the what was the girl's name? What was the girl's name? Not Faith. Trinity, you have all these same characters, but at the same time, Necrotronics makes its own thing. They make their own storyline, which I find really intriguing. The way I describe it is that it's bigger, it's better than its parts, but and I know it's funny because all the other movies I've gone over have really been about stuff. What'd you say, J Money? Should I post a Snapchat of the kid? No, probably not. It's funny because if you look at the idea of Ghostbusters meets The Matrix, you would think that this is actually kind of lame, but it works. But you're like, Jason, that's funny because you went into the whole plot with the idea of Housewife. How come you're not doing with Necrotronic? Necrotronic is basically just a superhero movie, but it involves the paranormal. It involves demons infiltrating the internet. It's a really, really interesting thing. But again, it comes down to the problem where you have people bumping into budgetary issues. I would definitely recommend Necrotronic, but you kind of got to know what you're getting into. It really reminded me of it reminded me of an early 2000s horror movie, really, right? That's kind of what it reminded me of. Not horror movie, an early 2000s superhero movie, where it kind of had it had a more neon look. It had a new thing going on, but you just had a totally different idea about it. So, and I know I know we talked a lot about doing the movie club, having the movie club thing. So let's go ahead. And it's funny because I think I have to hear from you guys. We have an issue of do we want to keep using Shudder? You know what I mean? That would be the big thing. Do we want to keep doing this? But or I mean, we can use other stuff. Going on, right? But the question is, do we want to keep using Shudder? That would be the big thing. Which I'm totally fine with, actually. So, but if you guys say, hey, let's go ahead and let's do a Amazon Prime one, we can do that. We can totally do that. Or we can do YouTube. People have talked about doing YouTube and stuff like that. But I'm totally fine with keeping doing the Shudder thing because right now it's free. But let's go ahead and use, where are we going with? We did Necrotronic, we did Housewife. Now, I know people are waiting for the baby, basically, right? People want the baby. And that's totally fine. But I'm going to save the baby for last because I know you guys want the baby. I know you guys want a baby, right? So let's take a look here. So I'm going to save the baby for last. This is where we're going here. We did Housewife. Okay, so let's do Kayako and Sadako. What's it again? Sadako and Kayako. The Grudge in the Ring. That's basically, I know it as Samara, right? That's what I'm thinking it as, Samara. But anyways, we have Kayako. We're just going to call them the Ring and the Grudge. Now, this movie actually is to Chi-Chi. I like horror movies in general, a lot of sci-fi stuff, and I'm sure other people can actually pop in there and say stuff that the type of movies they like as well. There's little babies from Whodunit. When we look at The Ring versus The Grudge, this is one of those movies that I didn't want to watch because both of those movies totally scare me, right? I've seen most of the Grudges. I didn't know, actually, there's 12 Grudge movies, including the American versions, and 12 Ring movies, including the American version. So that's a lot of stuff going on. This movie was one of those things that it was actually like this. You knew that you were going to have a fight between these two people. And again, this is one of those movies where I don't know how essential the plot is. But this is the movie. Basically, a girl gets cursed. She watches the Ring video. There was a weird change in this. They changed the mythology a bit. It's no longer 7 days. It's only 2 days. I guess that makes the movie move quicker. But that it's kind of messing with mythology. That's like having a werewolf movie, and all of a sudden, a bite doesn't turn you into a werewolf. If you share like a cup of coffee with him, he turns him. What? Just a non-essential change to the story. So you have this. Yeah, change. Also, in this one, she makes you commit suicide, which is a bizarre thing too. But then halfway through the movie, this girl tries to kill herself. And the ring girl shows up and goes, you're not killing yourself. And you're like, what in the world is going on here? This is absolutely ridiculous. So anyways, you have this whole thing going on. And you basically go into the idea of this girl watches the Ring video. This other girl goes into her house and finds the grudge ghost going on, right? You have the grudge ghost going on, which is pretty convenient, right? That both these things are happening at the same time. So what happens is this paranormal investigator shows up. He's basically a Japanese version of Constantine. He was a really entertaining character. I really like this guy. But he shows up and he's like, hey, I have a plan. This is an awesome plan. I'm going to get the girl who watched, because basically they both are on a real they have a choice. The Invisible Man does look interesting, Name Money and Chi-Chi. They really do look interesting. So the guy goes, you who watched the Ring video, you have to go into the Grudge house. And the person who went into the Grudge house, you have to watch the Ring video in the Grudge house. So what happens is Samara's ghost is going to appear in the house. But the Grudge ghost has already claimed their souls because they went into the house. They're going to fight over who gets to kill you. So basically, it's an hour and a half, and it slowly builds up to that. Now, there is a really cool... There's a lot of creepy scenes in it, but there's one cool scene, almost makes like a good short film, where you have a guy go into a house. You know, as a little kid gets told to go into a house as a dare. So he sneaks into the house, and he sees a little boy ghost, the meow, does a little meowing noise, right? Sees him in the house. And then he makes the bullies who made him go in there come into the house. And there's like a 10-minute short film in the middle of this movie where this kid and this bully are trying to outrun the ghosts in the Grudge house. That was really interesting. XM64 just asked, is that better than Freddy versus Jason? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Freddy versus Jason was great. That was a movie that I heard about back in 1994, and I was like, what? That sounds awesome. And then it ended up coming out in like 2005. Thoroughly enjoyed it. That was one of those movies that met all my expectations, exceeded my expectations. But anyway, so we get to this group here where you have Freddy versus Jason. Not Freddy versus thanks, XM. You have Samara versus the Grudge. And the fight is maybe 1 minute long. Samara, and I'm watching the movie and I go, the Grudge would win because I've seen enough of the Grudge movies. She controls an entire house. She controls an entire house, right? So you have this idea of you're walking into a war zone. It's the same thing with Jason versus Freddy. Once Jason got into the dream world, Freddy was kind of having a field day with him. It wasn't until they made Jason wake up that Freddy was brought back into a more even thing. So Samara, and the whole time I'm thinking, oh, this is totally fine. This is totally fine. Samara goes into the room, right? And just completely decimates the Grudge ghost. Absolutely, completely decimate the Grudge ghost. Like it's nothing. I was like, what? It blows her up. Sticks so much air on her, blows her up. So you have this thing going on. And then what's interesting, because then they come to a point where they go, the plan didn't work. Because Samara just absolutely aced out the other one. Samara totally aced out the Grudge ghost. So then they have another plan. One of these girls has to get possessed by both ghosts and then die in a well. And then they were going to cover up the well with this magical thing. So both... Oh, I forgot to say, halfway through the movie, one of the girls, because she's so depressed she's going to die, she goes, I don't want to die alone. So I uploaded the Ring video to the internet. So basically now everyone's on a clock. They got like 10,000 downloads, and then she removed it. So they don't kill. Get outside. There's this well. And Samara's walking like this. Da, 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 and Grudge Girl's walking this. and the girl, my face is in the middle of the well, and she jumps down the well, and the two ghosts run to grab her at the same time. They morph into a super ghost. Now they're this massive demon with tendrils and all these teeth and one giant Samara eye. And it goes into the well, eats that girl, and they cover it up real quick. And then it blows the lid off the well and is now in the form of Samara. So she's the white, they're both the same, but she has the white gown and the long black hair. So it's Samara, but she walks like the Grudge. So she walks on all fours and she does all those creepy noises and stuff like that. And she kills everyone. The movie ends with her killing everyone. It is almost like fanfic. It is almost like, that's what Free 22 number 9 said. So then we get to this point where the creature, so that's the end. But then, and I didn't know this. So I'm watching the movie last night. I waited until nighttime. Like I said on my podcast, I said I would wait until 7 p.m., which is, I said nighttime, and 7 p.m. is nighttime. I'm waiting until then. We get to the end, and then I'll usually go on IMDb and look at trivia and stuff. I'm sure a lot of you guys do. I saw there was an end credit thing. At the very, very end of the credits, they show the cursed video again, but now it's Samara as the Grudge. I was like, I'm not starting that up again. Because at that point, it was like 9, 10 at night. I was like, nope. But today I watched it, and it was interesting. That Ring video wasn't as creepy as the spooky images in the American version. It was just her like walking down a desolate hallway and stuff like that. Overall, it was a pretty good movie. I would say watch it if you're a fan of The Grudge and The Ring. But I don't necessarily... See you later, Chi-Chi. Have a good day. I don't necessarily wouldn't run out to see it. I would run out to see Housewife. And I would check out Necrotronic if you're into like 90s superhero movies and stuff like that. I did find that in stuff like that, but I thought it was interesting overall. Now we got 2 more movies. One of them I'm really pretty much going to brush over because it just wasn't very good. And it wasn't so bad. It was fun to watch. It just wasn't very good in general. Sorority Babes and the Slimeball Bowl-O-Rama. Sorority Babes and the Slimeball Bowl-O-Rama. So basically this movie was made by David Dakota. And what happens is you have this guy who he started off making really, really low budget movies, which is fine. I mean, you can do that. And he actually did a really good job doing this stuff. But you're going to have an issue where he started off doing this thing, and over time, it doesn't really work. Because has anyone seen any movies by David Dakota? Has anyone seen any movies by David Dakota? I'm actually shocked. I guess out of the people listening right now, maybe you haven't, but if you're a fan of if you're a fan of bad movies, David Dakota is actually the number. Yes, sometimes. Thank you. I think a lot of people, if you've seen the movies like, if you've seen Red Letter Media, yes, yeah. That's how I got introduced to him. I might have actually been flipping through Netflix and found his 1313 series. He started off making movies like Creepazoids and Sorority Babes and the Slimeball Bowl-O-Rama a long back time in the day. And then he moved on to start doing DB Cooper versus Bigfoot, Slaughterhouse, Sorority Slaughterhouse. He did that one as well. He did a bunch of stuff. Now, he started off pretty good. But what happened was he just got sucky overall. Slimeball Bowl-O-Rama, I think, kind of marks that point. Now, I've seen movies of his like Leeches. Leeches was really good. I really enjoyed that movie. But you have an issue where he wants to make movies, which is fine, but he just doesn't have the budget. And that's been an issue with a lot of movies this time, right? He hasn't had the budget of a lot of these movies. So what we're looking at here is an issue where you have a puppet. You have an imp. Hey, what's up, Smelly? I'm doing good. You have an imp who's locked in a trophy, a bowling trophy that gets knocked over. And then you have an imp come out that never moves. And it sits there for 20 minutes, grants people wishes. And the one guy's like, I wish for gold. And then a bunch of gold shows up. One girl wishes to be prom queen. You're like, Jason, why is there an imp? These people had to, they wanted to join a sorority, so they broke into a bowling alley. That's the first 20 minutes of the movie. Then they knock over a bowling trophy. Little imp comes out that doesn't move and grants everyone wishes. And then you're thinking, oh, okay, this is cool. The wishes are going to be ironic, right? And they're going to backfire and they will die in the method of their wish, right? That's what you think is going to happen? No. The guy who wishes for gold blocks, the gold becomes wood. And then they throw him in an ice machine until his head melts. Doesn't make sense at all. And rinse and repeat. That goes on for about an hour until they trick the imp into going into a coffee can and they seal it up. And there you go. That is the end of the episode. There you go. Not the end of the episode. That's the end of the movie. This NyQuil's killing me. That's the end of the movie, right? So then we're going to have an issue with. So it's basically an hour and a half. And anyone who's seen David Dakota movies know that he stretches things out as long as they can because it saves money. If you can put a camera there and you can have someone just reciting lines for 20 minutes, there you go. And that's basically the second act of that movie is just a little imp, a camera on an imp. Yeah, I'm going to get you. I'll give you gold. Wait, no, it's not. That's 20 minutes of the movie. So it was very unpleasant to watch. It wasn't like one of those movies that was so bad it was so good. It's not one of those 80s movies that had a killer soundtrack. The one redeeming point of it is it was filmed in Sacramento, which is my hometown. Totally love it. Totally love it. But I didn't know that at the time when I was watching it, so I was miserable for pretty much most of the movie. Speaking of being miserable, let's move on to our last movie. The Baby. Now, The Baby is one of those movies that people go, whoa, this is a shocking movie with an insane ending. It's so bizarre. What's going on? The ending, I guessed probably like 20 or 30 minutes into it. 20 or 30 minutes into it. So I think it's shocking in the sense that if you'd watched it when it came out or a little bit after it came out, it would be weird, but not shocking enough. So this is the premise of The Baby. There's a social worker. I'm liking that this episode is going to be a lot shorter, actually, because last time it was like an hour and a half long. The baby's her father is sometimes guessed. No, that's not it. There's this, that would be hilarious, though. There's this social worker who volunteers to work with a home that has an adult baby living in it. It's an adult man, but he has the mind of a baby. And it's a mom and two really mean sisters that are watching the baby. So the movie goes on, and the woman's the healthcare worker's a little nosy. She thinks that something's going on. She thinks the previous nurse disappeared. Something happened to her and she disappeared. But anyways, they never tell us that. They never tell us whether or not they killed the previous nurse or why they would have. What happens is we do realize that the family is torturing the boy. And it's possible that he might actually be a normal man, but they're torturing him to be a baby because they're like assaulting him with a cattle prod and they're doing all sorts of just horrible stuff to him. I don't really want to go into detail because it's gross. And then the healthcare worker is like, I'm gonna rescue this baby. I'm gonna rescue this baby. So then there's a 20-minute party scene, a 20-minute scene where people are hanging out at a party. It's really loud. It goes absolutely nowhere. I don't know. I think the director just wanted to have a party and have the people pay for it. They have this huge party going on, super loud. And then you get to the point where they kidnap the healthcare worker. They throw in the basement. The baby sees it, goes into the basement, rescues the healthcare worker. Healthcare worker kidnaps baby. So the women are waiting for a call saying, like, they're waiting for the woman to go to the police and say, they kidnapped me and they beat me up and I'm rescuing the baby. But the healthcare worker does not go to the police at all. Now, what we find out earlier in the movie is that, I guess I should say this before I get to the twist. Earlier in the movie, they keep talking about the healthcare workers has a husband, but we never see him. We just know he was in a tragic accident, right? This is so okay. So, anyways, then the healthcare worker starts sending photos of how cool the baby is. Like at her house, the baby stands up and wears a suit. At the other house, the baby was always in a diaper and like a t-shirt. So she's like, look at how cool the baby is over at my house. The baby loves it over here way more. Don't you wish you were as cool as the baby? The sisters and the mom then do the rational thing. Again, they're not called. They would call the police, right? They would call the police and say, hey, our baby got stolen by this healthcare worker. We know exactly who did it. And it's stupid they don't call the police because the healthcare worker could say, oh, they tied me up, threw me in the basement. They don't have a witness for that, right? Her only witness is the baby. So who cares what she says? She's kidnapped. If you kidnap a baby and you go, hey, they kidnapped my baby, and they're like, yeah, but you like tied me up, the cops are going to be like, you have a baby with you, bro. Like you have a baby. You're obviously guilty of the kidnapping. They may or may not have beat you up, but you've definitely kidnapped. The women don't do that. They do the rational thing. They go to the women's house. They go to the healthcare worker's house and lay siege to it. Their goal is to murder the woman and then kidnap the baby back. So they go into the house, and then it's basically this weird movie where it's the healthcare worker and the healthcare worker's mom just stabbing them. And this is what I thought was the most brutal part of the movie. This honestly, like, this isn't the twist, but I thought this was brutal. They kill both the daughters, throw them in a giant, like, opened grave where they're going to build a pool eventually. And then they capture the mom of the two daughters, and throw her in with her dead kids and bury them alive. That to me was more scary than anything, right? That to me was more disturbing than the twist ending. To have to be the mom and be watching her dead kids and they're throwing dirt on you. That was creepy. But here's the twist. And this is so stupid. Absolutely so stupid. They take the baby in, right? They take the baby and they go, oh, look at giant human baby. I'm going to put you in this room. And here's my husband. And the husband is also a baby. So her husband got some accident happened to him at some point in his life and got turned into a human baby. And she wanted a friend for her husband who will be a human baby for the rest of his life. So she volunteers to watch a family with a human baby, takes that human baby and sets it down with her husband. And they're like, yay. And then the ending, they're all swimming in the pool where right above them, the dead bodies are. So a happy ending, I guess. But here's my thing. If you've ever, I had a cousin, you know what, dude? I found these when I was cleaning up. Isn't that awesome? I haven't used nicotine in so long, but pretty dope, right? What's creepy is this. I mean, not creepy. I need to not take NyQuil before I do this stuff. What's interesting about it is this. You have a guy who is mentally disabled to the point he acts like a baby. Right? And then you have to care for him. You have to afford to feed him. He has to have round the clock care. Babies are hard enough. 180 pound, 200 pound babies are 100 times worse or 180 times worse. You have giant babies, right? You have all of this stuff going on. And then you have someone going, I want 2 of these. Imagine if you had someone who was paraplegic. I actually, my cousin was paralyzed from the neck down, and it's super hard on him, on the family. You do it because you love him and you got to take care of him, but it's incredibly hard. You don't go, if you have a family member who's paraplegic, you don't go, oh, I want a friend for you. Let's take care of another person who's paraplegic. That just doesn't make sense. And what's funny is in the middle of the movie, when they're not trying to give, I was like, oh, her husband's a big old baby. Her husband has some sort of traumatic brain injury because they mentioned him. I didn't think anything of it. And then they didn't show him for a while. And then they mentioned he had an accident. I go, he's a big old baby. Like, and then it was just a waiting through that 20-minute party to get to that point. I thought the ending was going to be more twisted. Like she knocked all the women on the heads and turned them into giant babies or something like that. Like she was doing this on purpose. But nope. But when you're taking care of someone with a major disability, you don't want, basically at that point, you can create a rest home type situation, right? But anyways, in the middle of the movie, she tries to get the baby to like socialize with others. And she takes her to a school full of other people with mental challenges. That's all you would do with your husband. You wouldn't want an other giant baby. But I guess in the 1970s, 1980s, that was disturbing. Sephora, you say you suppressed the ending. You thought that movie was depressing? I just didn't find it like super. I thought the ending to Housewife was creepier and more disturbing than the ending to The Baby. But it could also just be a matter of like time. Like back then, it could have been super shocking. Or maybe I just don't see. Hey, Velvet, I just don't see the idea of somebody wanting to have two people who are severely mentally challenged. I can't even say like the cinematography was good. The women were very attractive. I did like that part of it, but I there's not any other real feedback I would put. Thank you, Velvet, commenting on the shirt again. There's not a lot of really good feedback I would put on that episode or that movie. So what do you guys think about going forward with the Dead Rabbit Radio Movie Club? Do you want to keep doing stuff on Shudder? I mean, I guess we can just do a poll in general, but I kind of like Shudder just because it's free. It's free for everybody, right? So I think that might be where we keep going. There's still probably another good 20 or some odd movies. I want to say Sephora said, I felt shocked by the ending. It felt like I was trying to say something and maybe fantastically failed. I would say so. I think, again, a more creepy or disturbing ending would be had she turned, you could have had her husband be the baby, but then she's turning people into babies. Like she has a fascination with coddling giant people. Who knows? See, to me, that'd be creepy. Is she just killing them and throwing them in the dirt? It was creepy. They buried the one woman alive, but okay, they're dead. And of course, the police are going to investigate all this stuff. And she lost her job in the movie because she's harassing this family in the first place. Or maybe she didn't lose it, but she just got taken off the case. But you know how much money it takes to feed two giant? You know how much money it takes to just feed one giant baby? Now she has to feed two. I think it's one of the. Maybe I'm overthinking it. The same way that I can't watch the movie Cars, because it blows my mind. I go, who built the roads? How'd they build them? Who mines the oil? How do they get all this stuff? Who invented rubber? Like where I can't watch the movie Cars. I just can't stop thinking about it. But that is actually a good time for the Dead Rabbit Radio Movie Club, because last time we went like an hour and a half. Last time the movies were head and shoulders better. Even Mandy, I think, was better. I think Housewife and Mandy, I think story-wise. Scar TV. It's so funny that you said that before. You said you reminded me of Stewart. He does. The way he looks, it totally does look like Stewart from Mad TV. Get away from me. Yeah, I never really liked that character. Him and Mrs. Swan were the reoccurring characters I was never a huge fan of. But yes, yeah, you said that, and it was funny because I was kind of chuckling, and I had no idea what the movie was. And when I put it in, that's pretty much what it was like. So, yes. So if you want to see a movie about Stewart from Mad TV getting beat up and electrical prods on him, yeah, he would go into that dark timeline every once in a while. Stewart would kind of have his off thing, but yeah, I miss Mad TV. I really like Mad TV. I don't know how well it ages. I wonder if I went back and watched some episodes, it would be pretty funny. I don't know. It's funny. I never got into Key and Peele either. I liked them better on Mad TV than I did on their own show. I've tried so hard to get into Key and Peele over the years. Watched a couple sketches here and there. Just couldn't get into it. Like Chappelle Show. Couldn't get into Mind of Mencia. Couldn't get into Key and Peele. Couldn't get into that stuff. So I tried, though. I really wanted a follow-up to Matt TV to Dave Chappelle, but what are you going to do? Everyone, thank you so much. Should I smoke this? I know you're not supposed to be smoking right now. Maybe I'll just chew some gum. But I did find a cigar, and I found gum, and I found these old cigarettes, too. This is what quarantine life is like. I don't smoke. I've never smoked cigarettes, really. Used to smoke cigars, but I don't know. Maybe I'm in a cigar smoking mood. Another celebratory, successful Dead Rabbit Radio live stream. We'll probably end up doing more of these. We'll do more of these in the future. We'll look at doing Amazon Prime. I'll see what the movies are. It would be cool if we could do watch bar. It would be cool if we could do watch parties together. I'll look into that, though. I'll let you guys know. You guys continue to have an awesome weekend. I love you guys so much. You guys are totally awesome. You guys have an awesome weekend. I'm going to see you guys back Monday. We're going to keep doing this thing. Nothing's ever going to stop this show. We're going to keep going. I hope you guys are having a great time. I hope the show helps getting you through the quarantine. That'd be totally awesome. I'm going to go ahead and take care of some stuff. I love you guys. Stay safe, stay sane, be kind to each other, and I will see you guys Monday. I'll have another episode for you on Monday. I don't want to keep chewing this gum in the microphone, so I'll see you guys later. Bye. Sorry, I'm still chewing. So sorry. Bye, Sephora.